Hi guys, it's the educator here. Welcome back to my channel once again. So this is the part 2 of the BIO101 possible questions that I said I am going to drop. Alright, so as you can see, we are starting from section 4. Okay, in the previous video I dropped, that's the part 1. Please, if you have not watched it, do well to watch it either before this video or after this video, because the part 1 of this BIO101 possible questions treated section 1, section 2, and section 3, which covered macromolecules, cell structure and function. It also covered the ecology and interaction between organisms and their environment. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be looking at introduction to genetics and Mendelian's law. Then section 5, we look at evolution, and then section 6, finally, we'll look at reproduction, and then you are set for your Bio 101 examination whenever you are going to write the Bio 101 examination. Okay, so as usual, please, if you are a new subscriber turning into this channel and you have not subscribed, please do want to hit the subscribe button so that when updates like this are going to drop, you are going to be among the first set of people to get these updates. All right, so let's get into today's video. So first question: genetics is the study of genetics is the study of that is the way we start. Very simple questions first, and trust me, that is the way your exam is going to be. So genetics is the study of hereditary and variation. So basically, genetics just tells you how things are transferred from one generation to another, and also genetics explains why there are variations among organisms, especially organisms of the same species. Okay. Question 2: the basic unit of heredity is gene. Please take note. The basic unit of heredity is gene. Now take note. Some of you, but like I said, Bio 101 is a very simple course, and then it's very easy to pass. But then if you are not careful, you miss some very vital detail. Please take note. When you see basic units, ensure you read the question completely before you know the basic units they're talking about. Because there's a way this question can be structured, and they'll tell you basic units. Meanwhile, the answer you'll be getting is cell. So they say basic unit of life, you know it is cell. But then they say basic unit of heredity, you know it is gene. So you can see a question, they'll tell you, um, they'll compare or give an analogy and tell you gene and cell. So something like they'll tell you heredity, gene, life, dash. You just know that cell, right? So heredity is to gene, life is to cell. It's as simple as that. Then the next question: alternative forms of a gene are called alleles. So alternative form of gene are called alleles. Please take note of this. Alternative form of gene are called alleles. So what exactly does this mean? So let me see if I have a chromosome like this. Let me say this is how a chromosome looks like. So I decide to divide it like this. You will see that one part is going to be controlling a particular trait. So let me say the trait I want to talk about is height. For example, I want to talk about height. So one part will be controlling tall. That's one allele will be controlling tall, and another allele will be controlling the opposite of tall, short. So that is why they call allele alternative form of gene, right? These two alleles, they are alternative. So when you see something that has to do with tall, short, big, small, yellow, green, white, red, just know individually they are referred to as alleles. So allele refers to the alternative form of a gene. And now these alleles are represented in a way. When you want to do genetic crossing, they are represented in a particular way. So remember that, let me say we're still using height for example. Remember that when you see a capital letter, it means dominant, and then when you see a recessive, it means, or when you see a small letter, it means recessive. So now you will see that when they want to represent a particular gene or a particular trait, they always put two letters, right? Two letters. Those two letters are known as alleles. One of those letters is allele, the other letter is allele. So if I decide to do something like this, TT. One allele is dominant for tall, one allele is dominant for tall. That is what this thing means here. So if I decide to do another one that looks like this, I'll say one allele is dominant, then one allele is recessive. That's just what it means. So all these two letters I used to see, they represent allele. One of them is an allele. Okay, so please take note of that. Number 4, an organism with identical alleles. Remember, I already told you alleles, what alleles are and how they are represented. So let's see identical alleles. So let's use B. B, B. This is what we call identical alleles. Or we have small letter b, small letter b. This is what we call identical, and this is what we call identical. So now, what do they call this identical? What they call this identical is homozygous. Homozygous, because they are the same. When you hear anything homo, that's to do with the same. So they are the same, homozygous. Then if you see something like this, capital letter and small letter, what comes to your mind is heterozygous. which means that different alleles will give you heterozygous, and the same allele or identical allele will give you homozygous. Okay, so all of these things have been explained in that crash course file that I talked about in the first video. So just in case you are watching this video and then you don't know anything about the crash course file and you are interested, please do not reach out to me on WhatsApp and then show your interest, and I'm going to send it to you. It's totally free. Okay, then again, there is a package I'm going to be announcing at the end of this video. I did it in the first video, and then a number of persons complied, a number of persons participated, and a number of persons benefited from that package. But then the number I gave, I said 100 persons will benefit from this package. But then the number that came, or the number that showed interest, is not yet up to 100. So I'm still going to be announcing or restating the package in this video towards the ending. Alright, so do well to watch to the end so that you are not going to miss the package. You can see everything we are doing is a bit connected. So don't do crash course and leave the video. Do crash course, do the video. If possible, you hear the package, also participate in the package, ensure that everything is 100%, so that when you are going for the examination, you know that yes, you are going with confidence and you are ready to dismantle the computer. Please don't dismantle any computer so that the next set will still use it. So the correct answer is homozygous. Next question. An organism with different alleles. Okay, we said that in the previous question. So this is different alleles, right? So this one here is dominant and this one is recessive. So it is known as heterozygous. So please let's go back to the fourth question. There's something I want to point out in the fourth question. Now, if you see something like this, for homozygous, there's something I should take note of. Homozygous can be dominant. So we have something as homozygous dominant, and then we have something as homozygous recessive. So this is homozygous dominant and this is homozygous recessive. But then heterozygous is just heterozygous. There's no heterozygous dominant and heterozygous recessive. But then again, heterozygous is expressed as dominant. Heterozygous is expressed as dominant. So I'm going to explain. There's a particular question that um, explains why heterozygous is dominant. When we get to that question. But then again, all this condition has been explained in the crash course. Okay, so let's move on. Number 6, the observable characteristic of an organism is called observable. That means what you can see. It is known as phenotype. So anything that you can see. So if you see me today, you see that I'm black, I am short, I have big head, I have a fine set of teeth. That is known as phenotype. Alright? While the genetic makeup is known as genotype. Please take note of that. The genetic composition of an organism, we just said that is genotype. While the appearance is phenotype. But its dominant alleles are expressed when, now this is the question I was talking about. Dominant alleles are expressed when, now remember I said this is dominant. Just follow me. There's no need of you reading the option. Just follow me. Once you understand this thing, you are good to go. There's no need any way to twist the option. You are good to go. Remember I said if this is for black color, let me say this B is dominant for black, then small letter is white, for example. What will be the phenotype of this guy? This person is going to be black, right? Black. So you know this person is going to be black. What is going to be the phenotype for this one? This one is going to be black, right? So which means that both of them are dominant, right? Both of them are dominant. So if we have two alleles that are dominant, what will be expressed is still dominant. If we have just one allele, it will still be dominant. Please take note. If you have two alleles, it will be dominant. Even if it's one, it will still be dominant. So now let's read the option. A, only recessive alleles are present. Is that correct? No. If only recessive alleles are present, what I'm going to have? So let me say I have B and I have B. This is the recessive. What am I going to get? I'm going to get a recessive allele. I'm going to get a recessive trait, right? So this is wrong. At least one dominant allele is present. At least one dominant allele is present. So this is going to be the correct answer, because I said is that when you have one dominant, one recessive, the dominant is going to be expressed. So option B is correct. So at least one dominant allele is going to be present. So if you still look further at the two options, two recessive alleles are present, still wrong. Then only no alleles are present, this is wrong. So the correct answer is at least one dominant allele is present. So if one dominant allele is present in a particular genetic composition of an organism, that dominance is going to be expressed. All right. But recessive, the two must be present. It's only when the two is present. So if you look at this small letter b and small letter b, it is only when these two are present that is when recessive is expressed. So please take note of that. So the next question, recessive traits are expressed when, so I said it in the previous question, when two recessive alleles are present. So please take note. So no matter how you rephrase the question, you shouldn't be confused. Once you just remember this guy, BB is dominant. BB, this type of BB is also dominant, and this BB is recessive. which means that if two dominant alleles are present, what will have is it will be expressed. Dominance will be expressed. If one allele dominant is present, it will be what? It will still be expressed, right? But then for recessive traits to be expressed, it means that two recessive alleles must be present. That's just what it means. All right, so let's move to the next question. Mendel used which organism for his experiment? He used a pea plant. A pea plant. So it's either you see a pea plant, or you see garden pea, or you see Pisum sativum. Pisum sativum. Pisum sativum. So any of these three that you see, just know that's the answer. This was what Mendel, the father of genetics, please take note. Gregor Mendel is the father of genetics. So it was this plant he used to carry out the experiment. And now he had reasons for using this plant. He did not just pick any random plant. He had reasons. And those reasons, please, you should know it. All of those things have been indicated in the crash course. Have been said in the crash course. But then let me just say some. One of the reasons is that Pisum sativum has a short lifespan. So because it has a short lifespan, it can produce all what he wants to produce, give it to the next generation within a short period of time. Because Mendel wanted to do a lot of experiments, get generation within a short period of time. So he will not go and take mango. Mango takes a long period of time, 12 years, 13 years, 14 years. We're not going to take mango for another generation to come out, another 12 years. That's just wasting of time. So one of the criteria that made him pick it, because that's a short period of time, and because those kind of plants, annual plants, so within a year, they have produced the next generation that they have died. And they have produced their fruits, produced whatsoever. Another reason is because this Pisum sativum has different traits. Alright, that's different traits. That's white flower, red flower, tall plant, short plant, different traits, a lot of traits. Alright, so because of that, he picked it. And there's so many reasons. This Pisum sativum can be self-pollinated and it can also be cross-pollinated. So because of all these reasons, he decided to pick pea plants. Alright, so let's move to the next question. Mendel's first law. Good. This is the question I've been waiting for, because trust me, if many of you did not watch this video, you will feel this particular question. Only a few persons will get it. Okay, Mendel's first law is known as the law of segregation. The law of segregation. Please take note, that is Mendel's first law. I know many of you must have learned that the first law is law of dominance, but no, that is not the first law. The first law is law of segregation. The second law is law of independent assortment. Then the third law is law of dominance. Alright, so now you might want to ask a question that in some textbook you see that first is law of dominance, second is law. Now, those textbooks that you see it that way did not arrange it according to the lodge ranking. So it's more like you ask me a question now and you tell me list the first three alphabets in an exam. Tell me list the first three alphabets. If I say B, number one B, number one A, number one, number one B, number two A, number three C, then another person do number one A, number two C, number three B. Then another person do number one C, number one B, number one A. Do you know that all of us that did this thing, all of us will get the same mark? Because what does the question say? The question says list the first three alphabets, or the first three letters in the alphabet, rather. Now, if the question now says list the first three alphabets, list the first three letters, rather, list the first three letters in the alphabet accordingly, or in an order, maybe ascending order or descending order. That's when you now start seeing A, B, and C. So in arrangement of the ranking, the first law is law of segregation. The second law is law of independent assortment, and the third law is law of dominance. But in some texts, you see it as law of the right, number one, law of dominance, number two, law of segregation, number three, law of independent assessment. That arrangement is not according to the ranking. So please take note of this. Next question, Mendel's second law. Mendel's second law is known as the law of independent assortment. Law of independent assortment. There's a particular law that is known as law of purity. Law of purity. That is the segregation law. It's also known as law of purity. So you might not see segregation, but you definitely see purity. Just know it's the same thing. Alright, so next question. In a monohybrid cross, good, we're already getting to the parts I love. In a monohybrid cross, one trait is studied, true, false, sometimes never. Monohybrid, when you see monohybrid, there are two crosses, monohybrid, and then we have dihybrid. See, as biology is so simple and sweet. So simple and easy. Dihybrid. So for monohybrid, it just means that you are crossing with one trait. Just one trait. That is monohybrid cross. So this is true. For dihybrid, you are crossing two traits. So an example of monohybrid cross. So if I decide to cross, remember I gave an example. I said something like TT, right? And then this kind of T, and I decide to cross these two. Now, you agree with me that what I am just crossing is to discover the height, right? What I'm crossing here is to discover the height. I cannot use this height, this crossing for height to discover the color of the plant. It's not possible. And that is why it's known as monohybrid, because what I am doing is just one trait I am trying to study, which is height. But then in dihybrid, you see two. So if you see something like this, let me see, you now see TT, this kind of TT, then you now see B, the B that we used before, then you see something like TT, and then you see something like BB like this. Once you see this kind of thing, you know that this is dihybrid. You know why it's dihybrid? Because we are studying height at the same time we are studying color. You can see black, you can see it. So know the difference between these two. In dihybrid cross, how many traits are studied? Two. We explained that in the previous question. Next question. The ratio of phenotype. Good. We are getting to the place where I know. The ratio of phenotype in monohybrid cross is dash. Ratio of phenotype to monohybrid cross. Please take note. All of these ratios can be correct. Please take note. 1/1 can be correct. 1/1 can be correct. 3/1 can be correct. 9/3/3/1 can also be correct. 2/1 can also be correct. But then take note of your question. What does your question say? Your question says monohybrid cross. So if your question says monohybrid cross, then automatically option C is wrong. You know why option C is wrong? Because option C is for dihybrid. So our concern is A, B, and C. So now this is what I'm trying to tell you. So let me say we want to do this crossing. So we have TT, and then we have TT, this kind of TT. So we cross tall and short together, right? So if this cross with this, we'll have T and then small letter T, right? Then this same one crosses with this second one, we'll have T and then we'll have T, right? If this one crosses with this one, we'll have T and T. If this one crosses with this one, we'll have T and then T. So now, if you want to get the ratio of this thing, is there any ratio here? If you look at it, is there any ratio here? There's no ratio here because automatically all the plants at all, you can see all the plants at all, then they have the same genetic and the same phenotypic um, characteristics. So because of this, there's nothing like 4:0 or 0:4, right? The next thing we'll now do is the second cross. So this is the first cross. So let's do the second cross. So let me erase this so we can do the second cross. So the second cross, we'll now use the first generation, the offspring of the first generation. That's what we are going to do. Offspring of the first generation will self-pollinate them. So you know this was what we got from the first generation. So this is what we are going to do. So this is where the monohybrid now comes in. So if you cross this, we'll have TT. In exam, you are not supposed to be doing all this long process, but then I just want to do it so that you understand the process. In exam, just click your answer and get out. Nobody's going to ask you if you cross or you don't cross, so far you understand the concept. Then this we have TT, TT, and then we have this, we have TT, T, and then we have T. So now, if you want to get the genetic ratio of this guy, what is going to be the genetic ratio? We have this TT dominant. We have 1:1. So let me. So one ratio. Then we have this. We have two of this. 1:2. Then we have one of this. 1:1. This is the genetic ratio. Now the phenotypic ratio. That's what we can see. TT homozygous. Is this tall or short? We already know it's tall, right? One. Is this tall or short? Tall. Is this tall or short? Tall. So we have 3 tall, 1 short. So the answer is going to be 3:1. 3:1. Please take note. I did all this long process to just explain something to you. Whenever you see what is the ratio of phenotype immunohybrid, it is always 3:1. But please take note, take note, take note, take note. And that note that you must take is this. If this crossing, if they specify, then they tell you one parent has this genotype, then another parent has this genotype. If they give you the genotype to cross and they ask you what is the phenotype, don't just rush and pick 3:1. Please ensure you do the crossing before you pick. But then if they don't ask you anything, they just say phenotype in a monohybrid cross, pick your 3:1. Now this is why I'm saying it. So if we do this cross, we have, let's say if we do this cross now, we have capital letter T, and then we have small letter t, right? If we do this cross here, we have capital letter T and small letter t, right? If we do this cross here, we have recessive t. That's what we're going to have, right? Recessive t. Then if we do this one here like this, we're going to have recessive t. Now, what is the genetic composition? This and this, that is 2 ratio 2. Sorry, 2 ratio 2. And 2 ratio 2 is what? 1 ratio 1. So you can say 1 ratio 1 can actually be correct. But it's on a condition that if they give you the parents, they tell you, okay, this genetic composition, maybe it's capital letter T, small letter t, it is only when they give you. But if they don't give you, they just say what's the ratio of phenotype. So the next section is introduction to evolution. So the first question says evolution refers to the gradual change in organism over time. So evolution is a very short and then interesting topic. Okay. So the next question says the scientist known as the father of evolution is known as Darwin. So Darwin is known as the father of evolution. Please take note, Charles Darwin. Why is he known as the father of evolution? He's known as the father of evolution because he postulated the theory that makes sense. The theory makes sense, and that is the theory of natural selection. You should not also forget the father of genetics, which is Gregor Mendel, also the father of cell that we did in the first video, which is Robert Hooke. So if you are watching this video and then you have not watched the first video, please do well to watch it after this video. All right, so like I said, please ensure that everywhere is covered. Okay, don't leave any space. The crash course participates, the videos, ensure you watch it. The package I announced, or that I said I'm going to announce towards the end of the video, still do well to participate in everything. This is because anything that is not mentioned in this video is going to be trashed in the crash course. Anything that is not mentioned in the crash course and the video is definitely going to be in the package I promised I'll be giving towards the end of this video. Okay, so if you have watched to this point, ensure that you have subscribed to this channel. Okay, because the statistics of my YouTube analytics shows that majority of people that are watching this video, they are not subscribers. So please do well to hit the subscribe button. All right, so let's continue. Question 3. Natural selection means survival of the fittest. That is what natural selection means. So survival of the fittest is natural selection. So what happens is that nature just naturally selects those organisms that can strive, those organisms that can survive and allow them to live, while those that cannot strive and survive, they die. And so because of the next generation will be strong also because the people that are existing are strong. So that is just what it means. Question 4. Variation refers to differences among individuals of the same species. This question is very straightforward, but then again, this question can be rephrased. They can tell you differences among individuals of different species, individuals of same species. Please take note, variation is individuals of the same species, not different species. Question 5. Mutation. Mutation. You already know what mutation is. Mutation is a permanent change in DNA. So when the DNA changes, what happens is that the DNA has mutated and it is permanent. It cannot reverse back. Okay. Fossils. What are fossils? Fossils are remains of ancient organisms, right? So this gives you a clue, evidence of evolution. One of the evidences of evolution is the existence of fossils, right? The process by which organisms adapt to their environment is called, this one is very simple also, you have adaptation. The next question, natural selection acts on, please take note that natural selection acts on the phenotype, that is the appearance, what you can see. That is what natural selection acts on, what you can see, not the genotype. Charles Darwin developed his theory after observing Galapagos finches. Please take note. Galapagos finches. Take note. These were the fishes that Charles Darwin observed and he developed his theory of what natural selection. Artificial selection is carried out by humans. That is why it is artificial. It is very straightforward. Artificial selection is carried out by humans. Okay. Natural selection is carried out by nature. Question 11. Homologous structure. Good. So I've come to the part I love so much. Homologous structure. So you see questions relating to homologous structure, question relating to convergence, convergent evolution. So we have convergent evolution and we have divergent evolution. How will you remember convergent and divergent evolution? There's a mnemonic HDAC. Please take note, HDAC, right? H is homologous. Homologous is related to divergent. A is analogous and analogous is related to what? Convergent. So what happens is that in homologous, they have the same structure. When you say something is homo, the same. So homologous structure, they have the same structure, which means that because they have the same structure, they come from the same ancestors. So let me say this is the same ancestor. Yeah, this circle that I'm drawing is the same ancestor. Then what happens? With time, they will have different functions. So this one will decide to have his own function, this one will decide to have his own function, this one will have his own function, have function, this one will have function. And in physics, what is this called? This is called divergent. So it diverges, right? So that is why homologous structure is related to divergent. Okay. So the next question, analogous structure are, remember, analogous structure is not going to be the same structure. It's only homologous. So analogous structure, they are different structures, but then they have the same function. So what it means is that you have different structure like this. That means you have different ancestor, different structure. Let me say all the second I'm drawing is different structure. Then what happens is all of them will converge to the same function. So you can see it, same function, same function. So what is this called in physics? This is called convergence. All of them will converge. Okay, it's as simple as that. Then the next question, vestigial organs. Vestigial organs are reduced or unused organs. Those are vestigial organs. An example of vestigial organ is the appendix. So please take note of that. Survival of organisms best situated to their environment is called, survival of organisms best situated to their environment is called. Now, if you see this kind of question, you might want to be tempted to pick natural selection, you might want to be tempted to pick adaptation. But then, what is the actual answer to this question? Survival of organisms best situated to their environment is known as natural selection. You don't already hear survival of organisms, survival of the fittest as a result of where they are living, their environment. It is known as natural selection, not adaptation. Please take note of the difference. Number 15, evolution occurs through changes in gene frequency. So when there is a change in the gene frequency, that is when you now start evolving to something else. All right. So number 16, speciation is the formation of new species. From the word itself, it's very easy to know the meaning. Speciation, formation of new species, right? Number 17, isolation that leads to speciation includes physical and reproductive isolation. Physical and reproductive isolation. So please take note of this. Number 18, Darwin's theory is based on natural selection. There's one guy we did not mention, Landmark. You should know Landmark's theory now. Landmark's theory is use and disuse. Genetic drift. What is genetic drift? You should know genetic drift is the random change in gene frequency. From the word drift, it's change, random change. That's what is known as genetic drift. Number 20, evolutionary fitness is the ability to survive and reproduce. So for you to say you are evolutionary fit, it means that you can survive and you can also what? Reproduce. 21. Evidence of evolution includes, we have fossil. Fossil is an evidence, embryology is an evidence, all right? So in fossil, remember we said dead remains. When they compare dead remains, you see that why is this one bigger than this one? It means that something evolved. That's an evidence of evolution. Then we have embryology. If you look at the embryology of some structures, some organisms, you see that they have similar embryology, which means that they have a common ancestor, right? Then we also have comparative anatomy. In comparative anatomy, you are just comparing body structures. For example, you are comparing the hand of man and the hand of another organism, right? So that reminds me, you just know the examples in homologous and analogous structures. Okay, all of those things have been indicated in that crash course because they can just give you a structure to tell you hand in man and the fin in shark or the wing in this is an example of this structure. So you should know whether it is homologous or analogous. When they say homologous, you should know HD. homologous divergent, then analogous is convergent. So the answer to this question is all of the above. All of the above, they are evidences. 22. The study of embryos to understand evolution is known as embryology. Remember, logy is study, embryo. So embryology is the study of embryo. It's as simple as that. 23. The theory of evolution by natural selection was published in, to take note, 1859. 1859, when Charles Darwin published on the origin of species. On the origin of species. On the origin of species is a book that Charles Darwin published in 1859. On the origin of species. So please take note of that. 24. Overproduction in evolution means when organisms produce more offspring than can survive. That is what we mean by overproduction. 25. The struggle for existence refers to we already did this in the first video where we talked about characteristics of characteristics of living thing, and one of the characteristics is this struggle. They must struggle, right? And this struggle is known as what? Competition for resources. All right, so the next session is reproduction in animals and plants. So reproduction is one interesting topic that everybody loves so much. Okay, interesting and at the same time very, very, very simple. So we're going to run through reproduction and then you are set for BIO 101 examination. Okay, so let's run through the questions and then we are good to go. The first question: reproduction is the process by which organisms produce new individuals. It's very simple and straightforward. Two, asexual reproduction involves one parent, that's asexual. Then sexual involves two parents. Please take note of that. Sexual reproduction involves two parents. I already said that it involves two parents. Number four, the male garment in males is called sperm. Please take note. The male garment in male is called sperm. Then in female, it is called ovum. Then you also note the difference between garment and gonad. Please, garment and gonad, they are not the same. Garment and gonad, they are not the same. Garment, sperm, ovum or ova or egg. Why gonad? We have testes for male and ovary for female. Please take note of that. The female garment in animals is called ovum. Ovum. Number six, fertilization is the fusion of two nuclei of the gamete. That is when sperm and egg fuses together. But what actually is fusing? It is their nuclei that is fusing. Number seven, the zygote develops into embryo. Remember, when these two fuse, they will fuse to form zygote. Then the zygote will now develop into what? An embryo. It's as simple as that. Number eight, internal fertilization occurs in, it's very simple, internal fertilization occurs inside the body, right? So this is the body and internal fertilization. The baby is going to be fertilized, or everything is going to rather the garments are going to be fertilized inside. But then in external, this is the body, then it is fertilized outside the body. It's as simple as that. Number nine, external fertilization occurs in when we use most likely see external fertilization, you see it in water animals like fish, right? Water animals like fish, because birds, mammals, humans, they carry out internal. Ovulation ovulation is the release of egg. You should take note of that. Ovulation is the release of egg or ovum, just as the word implies. Number 11, the organ where fertilization occurs in human is known as the fallopian tube. So if you don't see fallopian tube, you might see oviduct. Please take note, they are the same thing. Number 12, implantation is the attachment of embryo to the uterus. Remember, the uterus is also known as womb. That's where the baby is going to stay. So it is in the uterus. Please take note. Number 13, the placenta is responsible for the exchange of nutrients and gases. So you can see these questions are very simple. They are common basic biology that you should know. Number 14, puberty is the stage where when reproductive organ matures. So when reproductive organ, breast, beards, deep voice, broad shoulders, and all of that comes out is in puberty stage. Okay, but now they did not tell us about that trait. They just specifically talked about reproductive organs, right? Pollination is the transfer of pollen from anther to stigma. Please take note, it is not from stigma to anther, it's anther to stigma. All right, so the next question is self-pollination occurs when pollen is transferred within the same flower. That's why it is called self. That is why it is called self. When it is the same flower, it is called self. Then cross-pollination, it is when it is different flower of the same plant. Please take note. Different flower of the same plant. Different flower of the same plant. This is wrong. Please take note. Different flower of the same plant is wrong because most likely that is what most people are going to pick. That is why it is very, very important for you to shine your eyes tomorrow when you are going to be doing your exam or whenever you are going to be doing the exam. It is different plants. Don't just say because you see different, you rush and go and pick it. Because yeah, it says same plant, and same plant is for what? Self pollination. Fertilization in plants occurs in where does fertilization occurs in plants? Fertilization occurs in the ovary in plants. While in animals, it occurs in the fallopian tube or the oviduct. Number 19, the ovule develops into seed. Please take note. Let me give you a diagram. to illustrate. This is the ovule here, for example, and this is the ovary. This is how the development occurs. If this is a fruit, you know that the one that is inside is the seed, the one that is outside is the fruit. So what is inside is ovule. So ovule develops into seed. Number 20, ovary develops into, what does ovary develop into? Ovary develop into fruits. I already mentioned it. Then now 21, vegetative propagation. Please, vegetative propagation is also known as asexual reproduction in plants. Don't say because there's vegetative, that means it is going to be sexual. No, vegetative is asexual. Why is it asexual? It's asexual because when you take a vegetative part of the plant to produce another of that plant, it is known as asexual because there's no fusion, there's no pollination, there's no fertilization. So it is asexual reproduction. All of these things have been explained in the crash course file. The types of vegetative propagation, you should know everything. Examples of vegetative propagation include tubers and bulb. Tubers and bulb. Tubers like yam, potato, bulb like your onions, right? Seed, pollination, fertilization, all of these include what? The sexual reproduction in plants. 23, binary fission is common in, where you see binary fission? You see binary fission in unicellular organism, right? So let me quickly explain. Binary fission, this is an organism when it divides into two, it forms one. That is binary fission. Then we also have what is called budding. So let me say this is an organism. Then when it's time to reproduce, it gives rise a bud like this. Then what happens is that it will divide, then this bud will fall off. That's budding. Then fragmentation. Let me say this is the organism. A fragment is going to fall off, right? So you now see the organism will now look like this, for example. Then this is the fragment. Then this will now develop to be the new organism. In fragmentation, the organism loses a part of its body to give rise to another organism. Budding occurs in organisms like yeast and hydra. Please take note of that, yeast and hydra. Number 25, which is the last, advantages of sexual reproduction include, advantages of sexual reproduction include genetic variation. So in sexual reproduction, there is variation because there's mixture of different things, the law of segregation, independent assortment, dominance, and all of those things happens there, right? So we've come to the end of the BIO101 possible questions. All right, so please and please, you have watched to this point and are not yet a subscriber, you are committing a very serious crime. Please do well to hit the subscribe button. Most importantly, share this video to your classmates, share this video to your friends, share it to your departmental group, share it to your faculty group chat. All right, so once again, I want to wish every one of you success in your examination. Like I said, what I promised, the package, I said I have a question bank, a BIO101 question bank that I'm going to be giving to 100%, and about 40 something percent I've gotten it, but then you have about 60 something percent. So once the slot is over, I am not going to be giving the question bank again because the question bank is a bit confidential to me. So it's not something I just release anyhow. But for the sake of this exam, I'm just going to be releasing it to 100%. So once again, success in your exam. Don't forget to come back and testify. All right. So see you guys in the next video. So if you want me to do something like this for CHM 101, CHM 101 Crash Course, or CHM 101 video, please indicate in the comment section.